we're good. What's going on? Friday, April 4th, 2020. Welcome back to Hacks Facts. This is episode 2. I'm your host, Zach Houston. We got a really exciting show today. Very good friend of mine, really good pitcher, really good ball player, Logan Lombana. Logan, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's good to get a pitcher's perspective, obviously, and you and I always have some really good, interesting conversations about the game and whatnot. Before we jump right into it, just a quick word from our sponsors. None of this will be made possible without some help from our friends over in Salt Lake City, American Batsmith. I'm wearing their shirt today. It's a tough time for small businesses right now. Guys are getting hammered left and right with closures and forced closures and everything from the government decisions and everything. So number one, it's great to support small businesses when you can. Number two, they're a great bat company. They make awesome products. It's a few guys in Salt Lake City. Jacob Huff's the owner over there. I use their bats. Really good product, and they'll get any minor leaguer or any guy, whether they're a big time guy, a college guy or an amateur guy. They get you the best product, the best available wood that's out there. Pro Ash, Pro Birch, Pro Maple, they do a great job. Check them out at www.americanbatsmith.com. They're also on Instagram and social media. And with help from our host sponsor, Rax Hacks Remote Training. Whether or not you believe it, baseball will return. We'll talk about that. I know it seems crazy. I know it seems hard to believe, but it will return. And when it does, you're going to be evaluated on your level of work ethic and what you put in during this craziness. And we're here to help you guys, especially with hitters. We have our remote analysis technology. We can take video and help you guys get better and, refine your mechanics and your approach, even though you may be confined to your driveway or your backyard or your grandma's basement, wherever you are. So check us out. We're on social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter at RAX_HAX. Without any further ado, Logan, I saw firsthand this year kind of the growth that can be put into a pitcher's work. And we'll talk about your background. I have no doubt you were always a talented pitcher. You pitch at Long Beach State. You're from the Bay Area. Actually, where are you talking to us from right now?
So I live in Newark, California. So
Okay.
it's in the Bay Area. That's where I grew up. It's if you're familiar with the Bay Area at all, it's next to called Fremont, California, and we're basically just in the middle of everything, central location to Oakland, San Francisco, Silicon Valley.
Yeah. That's like kind of. Would you say that you're more East Bay or you're South Bay?
In the East.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know some guys from out there. I know some East Bay guys. We'll talk about some of the baseball culture out there, because I've always found Northern California's baseball culture really interesting. But what's exciting, for those of you following along online, he's a Northern California guy. Logan pitched at Long Beach State, a really good program in college baseball. That was in the Big West Conference at the time, right?
Yeah, we're in the Big West. Mm-hmm. With Florida, Santa Barbara.
Yeah. That's like big-time college baseball. You're a 25th round draft pick of the Minnesota Twins back in 2015. Made it up to high A ball, pitched in the Florida State League in Fort Myers.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your numbers, and obviously you had multiple good seasons between high-level college baseball and affiliated minor leagues. And the last 2 seasons in the Frontier League with Lake Erie, you pitched to a .9 whip in 2018 and a 1.1 whip in 2019. And I kind of want to get your thoughts, and we'll just kind of spitball, but
yeah.
I talked to Aaron Hill a lot last week about his adjustments, and I was there in 2018, and he had a good season. He made some adjustments. He wasn't complacent. You had a very good season in 2018.
Yeah.
For a guy that you were 24 last year, right?
Yeah, 24, and at the end of the season I turned 25.
You came back. You were probably throwing like 4 to 5 miles an hour harder at one last season.
Yeah.
It's a huge velocity jump from the pitcher, especially a reliever going into his like 4th, 5th year of professional baseball. So what happened? How did you create that adjustment?
I think one thing was just kind of by accident. I put on some more weight. I normally with the Twins, I'd come to spring training. We have our weight, body fat, all that, and I was coming in about 214 every year. And kind of by accident, in the off season, first of all, I was doing a lot more long toss, and obviously, I do all the plyo care drive lane program as well. But I'll get into that in a second. But I got a lot stronger. I squatted every single day in the off season, and I played long toss probably 4 to 5 days a week, and then I continued that during the season as well, and I got up to about 235 to 237 during the season, and I came to spring training right away. I was throwing 94, 95, which I've never thrown hard before, and then that lasted pretty much until the end of the season. I was touching 96, and then I guess the last game of the season, Cam, our manager, told me I touched 98, which I thought he was lying, because I've never been close to that. Because the year before, like you said, I was sitting between 92 to 93.
Right.
And that's where maybe touched 94 on a good day.
Yeah.
And then maybe once or twice I've hit 95 before that. But this year I was consistently at that point. And then maybe I would think just getting a little bit older, getting a little bit smarter, getting a little bit more confident as well. But for the most part, that's it. Yeah.
To what extent do you feel that, when you mentioned long toss, because I know and I'm kind of curious, because you having that experience in affiliated baseball and knowing how certain organizations do it, and go through their training, why do some organizations almost discourage guys from long tossing a lot? I think we know that there are organizations that do. Why do you feel that?
Coming from California, I'll go back to my high school days. I was a big long toss guy in high school. To be honest with you, I didn't pitch. I pitched, but I didn't pitch too much in high school. I was more of a position player.
Yeah.
And I got recruited to Long Beach 2 weeks before school started, after my senior season.
Wow.
To pitch. So then I went there, and the coach told me, basically, this is what we want to do with you. This is what we want you to do when you come in. This is what we expect. And the first day I got to Long Beach, we basically changed all my mechanics.
Right.
And we couldn't go past 120 feet, and it was cookie cutter.
Right.
Very, very cookie cutter. It wasn't like free and easy like Jaeger Sports long toss, for example. And so I continued that program of long toss or throwing program from college until I got to professional baseball. And then before the draft, I started training. My roommate in college, I started training with a guy named Alex Gonzalez. He runs Coach Agon Performance in Miami. So I went to him, and he's the one who introduced me to the drive lane program. And he basically was doing the Texas Baseball Ranch program, to break it down.
Sure.
So to me, I prefer Texas Baseball Ranch rather than drive line.
Right.
Programming, to be honest with you. So I did a basis of that, and he introduced me to the plyo care balls, the weighted baseballs, and more long toss. And then when I got to the Twins, after training him with him for about a month, and then I got drafted by the Twins, went to mini camp, and the first day I got sent to Elizabethton in Tennessee to play rookie ball. And the first day I played long toss, they were okay with it. The next day I played long toss, and they said, your arm's going to fall off. You can't do this every day.
Right.
Obviously, you listen to your arm. You're not going to play long toss every single day. It depends. But they basically said, 90, you need to go to 90, 120, maybe long toss 1 day a week. And with weighted balls, you couldn't do it. So I would have to come to the field 2 to 3 hours early and do my warm-up plyo care balls before the coaches would get out there.
Secret, yeah. You had to operate as a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
From the people, running the system.
Yeah. So I would get there, like if we had a home game, I'd get there 4 hours, 3 hours early so I could get all my work in so that they wouldn't see.
Yeah.
Because if I did it when they were there, then I'd have to answer all these questions and why do you do this? Why do you do that? This isn't good for you, which is crazy to think now.
Yeah, even though you know that was a piece of your routine that made you successful.
Yeah.
Did they not believe was there evidence pointing toward that they would cite or they would use pointing towards why it was unsustainable? Was it more like anecdotal? Were they just kind of coming up with stories and like what was the basis of their argument, or did you even really get into that?
My first couple of years, I didn't really get into it. They just were like, say things like, oh, you need to save your bullets, which is a classic one. That a lot of coaches like to say, save your bullets, pitch tonight. But what's crazy is, like, at the end of the day, it's the player's career. It's not the coach's career.
Right.
Every player is different. Every player is going to have a different long toss or throwing program or what makes them feel good.
Yeah.
So the coaches can say kind of whatever they want and help you with things, but whatever they say isn't going to be great for each individual player.
Yeah.
But as I kept going and as I kept going through the system, my last year with the Twins, one of my pitching coaches, my first pitching coach after my season in rookie ball, who always wasn't in agreement with the weighted baseballs, then got another guy who came in, and 2018 was we had a complete revamp of the minor leagues for the Twins.
Okay.
And so we got a new minor league director of player development.
Sure.
And he came from the Dodgers, so a lot of guys came from the Dodgers. And then another guy, I believe he came in from the Rays, and he was all into spin rate, carry, analytical stuff, basically.
Yeah.
And we started bringing out, so my last year with the Twins, we started bringing out Edgertronic cameras, Rapsodo cameras, and then all of a sudden, the coach that I was working with my first couple years was bringing me into his office about spin rate and analytical stuff, and it was like, I've been trying to tell you about this for 3 years.
Yeah, where were you the first 2 years? Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, when you work with that data, and I assume this off season, going into 2020, you were planning on reporting to camp with the Lincoln Salt Dogs, right? The American Association.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We probably don't have the same scope of that data collection in the American Association, but in your off season, I assume you're using, some sort of measurements, right? When you're training.
I tried. It's tough when I'm at home, but when I go to normally every off season I go to Miami to train with the same pitching coach.
Yep.
And he has Rapsodo.
Okay.
There, so we do a little bit of testing.
What do you feel is the most important one metric? I understand it's a big picture and you look at everything holistically, but is there one particular piece of data that you latch onto that's kind of led you to, these sustained successes?
I would say spin efficiency is
okay.
Because the more efficient you spin the ball, the more backspin you're going to have on the baseball. And for me, being a four-seam, I try and pitch it top of the zone. So I go four-seam, and the more I can spin the ball efficiently, the more backspin I'm going to get on the baseball, the higher RPMs the baseball is going to be. And then that's going to be better for your breaking ball as well, obviously.
Right. So you're looking to set guys up with obviously high velocity at the top of the zone.
Yeah.
And then do you feel that hitters, when they see you, and obviously being a reliever, you kind of get the benefit of, maybe not going through the lineup probably more than one time at a time. Do you feel that hitters feel they need to cheat to get to you at the top of the zone, and then does that open up more avenues to throw your off-speed stuff, or does that kind of does that play into your hands at all? You notice that?
I think it just depends on the hitter. If you've done a little bit of research on the hitter or look back at his numbers or before the game, if you look at some charts, I think it just depends on where his tendencies are and where his red spots or blue spots, if you will. But just kind of, it depends on those kind of things as well.
Right. Do you think that because we have less of a scouting report, kind of we don't have as much information going into these games in the American Association or the Frontier League, do you feel that there are like live tendencies that you can read? Are there things that you see with hitters in their stance, in their anything in game that turns into your becoming game theory optimal? Is there stuff like that you can read?
You almost have to, right? Because if we don't really have the video streaming like you do in affiliate baseball, where you can go on the supercomputer, if you will, of minor league baseball or YouTube, and you can search. Okay, well, this guy's the 3-hitter for the Jupiter Hammerheads, right, and this guy's hitting this, and that. And this guy hit a homer off this pitch. But in Frontier League or American Association, you have to adjust in game by what you see, really, and then kind of go off what you see visually each game,
right? Because
you haven't really seen the guy before, and you have no other video or any way of seeing the guy unless the guy happens to be on a YouTube channel or something like that.
Right. What's interesting is that's still data, and that's a smaller sample size, but there's a big what I've noticed is there's a big dichotomy in especially like high-level amateur baseball, where there may not be the same, big resources that they have in affiliated baseball. But I see it as, I do it as a hitter a lot. I will heavily weigh certain experiences I've had with pitchers if I see them 4, 5, 6 times in a season. And you want to retain information on how they worked you.
Yeah.
However, in college baseball, I don't know what your experience was. I know what my experiences were. And in a lot of college baseball, coaches are reluctant to let their pitching staff work as an independent unit. They're sitting there, they're calling their pitches, they're doing what. That's trickling down all the way to youth baseball. I remember going to some youth baseball games last year in the Northeast and watching like 13U coaches like sit there. They're like giving some.
Yeah.
What are your opinions of that? Personally, I feel like it's taking away what you just described. Like that's a good quality. That is something that takes years to develop, and it's very valuable. Don't you? What do you feel about how that? Take the coaches calling pitches. How does that affect the ability to cultivate that value?
I think it's good and bad. I can remember in college, West Coast baseball is a lot different than a lot of baseball that's played in America.
Okay.
So West Coast baseball, and we had a lot of, it's a lot of bunting, it's a lot of stealing, it's a lot of hit and run, it's a lot of gamesmanship, if you will.
Okay.
So there's a lot of signs that are going on. So like at Long Beach State, we had signs for nobody on. We had signs with a guy in first. We had signs for a guy in first and second.
Yeah.
Signs for a guy in first and third. Bases loaded signs. So like the catcher was giving a lot of signs. And then it always took a long time for our head coach or pitching coach to relay his sign to the catcher. So on the mound, you want to get, as a pitcher, you want to be in a rhythm.
Yeah.
And if you're not in that rhythm, it's kind of tough to pitch, in my opinion.
Right.
Because you want to get the ball, you want to go. But it took a long time for our head coach or pitching coach to relay the signs always to the catcher. So it felt like I was on the mound just in my windup for an eternity, honestly.
Yeah.
Or he even got the sign because the catcher was looking over at the pitching coach waiting for him to give him the sign.
Yeah, I've always thought that's brutal. But you don't think that? So and that's a negative, I assume.
That's a negative.
What would be one of the pots?
I think positive would be like, okay, you let the kid call the game, you learn, okay, maybe he has a bad time calling the game, and then after the game you talk about it with the head coach or the pitching coach and say, like, hey, look, this is what you can do. This is how you should have called. This is where you should have called this pitch, or so on and so forth. Or you do it like in game. So you start off the game with the pitcher and the catcher calling the game by themselves, and then maybe if it gets down to tighter in the game where it's like 0-1 or 0-2, or if a guy's on first and you get to 0-2, maybe the pitching coach relays a pitch into the catcher that he wants that would be good for that particular situation. But it doesn't have to be every pitch.
Right.
Sometimes with the Twins, we even did that where I know the pitching coach, obviously the pitching coaches would let them call their games, and then it'd get to like a 1-2 count, and then the pitching coach would maybe relay a pitch in. Or if there was a guy on first with a 1-2 count, he'd relay in a pitch out or a fastball up or something like that.
Okay.
Just so if you thought the guy was stealing, make sure it's not in the dirt, something like that. So like little things like that, but that's game within the game kind of stuff. That depends on the situation.
Right. But you're saying high leverage situations, they might actually want to opt into giving information.
Yeah, because the kid who's 13 probably isn't ready for that.
Yeah.
You know, he's not. I don't think he's. I mean, I guess the way he will learn, it will be by doing it. But college, I think, is completely different. Like you gotta let the kids kind of go, and that's like what you work on calling games during practice. The pitching coach should call. Okay, this is how we want to attack this guy. This is how we're gonna get him out. Because the pitcher is gonna want to do three things. What am I gonna start him with? Or I'm sorry, two things. What am I gonna start him with? What am I gonna get him out with?
Yeah.
And so, if you go by each hitter before your game, because the pitcher and catcher and pitching coach always have a meeting before the game in college.
Right.
You have a pitcher's meeting on Friday. You have a pitcher's meeting before every game in college.
Well, some programs do, some programs don't. I'd argue that the more successful programs actually, cultivate a plan and prepare for the.
Yeah. So like we had a pitching meeting before, well, pretty much every practice, but before every game we had kind of a plan of what we're going to attack the hitter. So the pitcher and the catcher already know what they want to get the guys out with, or what they want to start them with.
Right.
So for the pitching coach to relay signs in, it's just he's relaying the same pitch that we've talked about before the game for the whole week of college.
Right. All it does is knock down the timing, and just like you're adding a layer that doesn't even need.
Exactly, and it's just wasting 10 seconds, and that's why in minor league baseball or Major League Baseball, the pitching coaches or head managers can't relay pitches anymore because we have a time clock.
Yeah.
So
don't you think that I mean, it's crazy to me that there needed to be, I don't know if you want to call it a bureaucratic decision, but it's essentially people stepping in and administering a rule. It's like, why don't you just? Everyone can clearly see it's better that way. Pitchers like it more. No one needs an added layer. It just slows everything down. So it's interesting that it's come to that in minor league baseball. Do you think that will ever? Do you think they'll take that and extend that into Major League Baseball? Do you think that'll ever actually happen?
The time clock.
Yeah, just the time clock or any other sort of league-mandated thing to speed up the pace of play. The big hot topic the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great in the minor leagues. I thought it was a good thing.
Do you actually think it would be beneficial for Major League Baseball to implement that?
Yes, I think so.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Do you think that fans are really, like, in your opinion, do you think fans are really that tied to, or, are they really going to stop watching the game if it's 10 to 15 minutes longer? Because you look at the averages over the last years. Yeah, the hardcore baseball fan doesn't care if a game's 2 hours and 45 minutes versus 3 hours and 5 minutes. We're not talking about a big chunk of time right there, right? Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the guys that obviously when there's nobody on, there's no time clock. I mean, I'm sorry, when there are people on base, there's not a time clock because. But when there's people on base, the guy that comes to mind that they always have on MLB is Javi Baez, the reliever for the Dodgers. And he takes like 30 seconds between pitches. Like, that's just, if you're watching the game, that's just unnecessary. As a fellow baseball player.
Pedro Baez.
I'm sorry. Pedro Baez, sorry.
Yeah.
But
I remember watching Steve Traxel. Steve Traxel was in the bigs for the Mets for a long time. I don't know if he's a West Coast guy. I think he might be.
He went to Long Beach State, actually. Traxel.
Nope.
Yeah.
He did. I thought he did.
Yeah.
That guy was a human rain delay, man.
Yeah.
I remember watching so many Met games that felt like every time he got the ball, I don't know how he created enough things to do in between pitches.
Yeah.
But he did, and it was brutal. But I still watched.
Yeah.
The Met fans I knew, they still watched. They weren't like, oh, I'm not going to watch this game because Steve Trax was pitching. So.
Yeah. And think if like people at home are watching the game and struggling in between pitches, imagine the guys in the field. Imagine like your shortstop, second baseman waiting for you. Like, that's almost worse than him walking in the house. Like, it's the same. Like you're waiting 30 seconds between pitches, and then all of a sudden you get a hot shot to.
Right.
It's tough.
It's tough. You want to stay. Everyone has that internal clock, but my opinion, I feel like that's why you need to get the players on board with calling their own games and being on the same page at a younger age, because the way I see it, the team will police it. If a kid takes forever to throw the ball and it's a 13U team, the shortstop and the second base and the center fielder are going to come to him and be like, dude, you need to, this is ridiculous. Throw the ball. People are falling asleep out there, and everyone's losing their focus. But
it's the same as a pitcher walking the house.
But the difference is the pitcher walking the house, the coach is going to come out at some point and be like, dude, we're taking the ball, or figure it out, No, it's interesting. I getting back to spin efficiency too. It's funny you mentioned that, because that's been such a Rapsodos are everywhere now. As they become more used frequently, obviously, I think the competitive advantage will come down, because it used to be there's people using it and there's people not using it.
Mm-hmm.
But reps, like with spin efficiency, are there mental? You don't have to go into detail, but do you feel that outside of like the physical prep? Because we can look at mechanics after the fact and say, okay, I wasn't in the right position, therefore I wasn't producing the results I wanted to. Do you pay attention to your mental state? Your state of mind. Do you notice whether certain approaches create better results in the metrics?
Like mental state during my actual pitching motion, or what?
Yeah, like when when you're measuring.
Okay.
We talk about this a lot with our hitters.
Okay.
It's not just enough to take your data. It's more that you need to keep in mind what your approach was when you recorded or collected that data, because anyone can focus on the results or the numbers. It's easy to get sidetracked by that, when really all you can control is, okay, that approach worked for my most successful results, so I'm going to stick with that. I ask this because pitchers might be different. There might be a different approach, and I was just curious if your mentality more or less dictated some of your more successful spin efficiencies or your actual metrics themselves, or does it not matter? And if you're correct mechanically, then everything's going to line up the way it should.
I think there's some days where it's like anything for hitters as well. Some days the ball's going to be coming out great, and you're like, okay, the ball's spinning today, and some days the ball's going to not be coming out too good.
Okay.
But I think when I'm doing when I'm in the game, you can't really think about that. In the bullpen a little bit, but I think that all comes back to the arm action or the pocket. Really.
Oh, okay.
If you don't have a good pocket, then you're not going to be out in front. Your spin efficiency isn't going to be very good. So I focus more on that in my routine before I throw.
Okay.
Now, So, like, all my plyo care balls that I do, I'll focus on creating a good pocket. So then once I get on the mound or play catch, I'm just free and easy, athletic, and I'm just throwing the ball at that point.
So you
thinking about little cues, but that's really it.
No, so you front load a lot of your mental prep so that when you get in game, you're just not reacting, but you're just competing. You're just letting your body do what you train it to do. Is that what you're?
Yeah, because I'm still kind of like that too, but I used to be really into like overanalyze everything.
Okay.
And that would take over also into the game.
Okay.
Well, now I'm trying to just focus on doing the analyzing stuff like that, feeling of my pocket with reverse throw, pivot, pickoff, the running gun, whatever we do in the plyo care routine, bands, this and that, and then once I get on the mound or once I play catch, I'm focusing on just playing catch, being athletic, and moving my feet, and that's just focusing on pitch design or pitches that I'm throwing or how I'm going to attack the hitter for that game. But yeah, besides like when I'm actually thinking about spin efficiency, stuff like that, it's more about in my plyo care. Unless I'm throwing a bullpen and I'm doing the bullpen with a Soto or something like that, like I said, you can get results right away.
Okay.
And you could say like, oh, I just threw a fastball. That one felt pretty good. What was that at? Or like, that didn't feel too good. What was that? Just to get instant feedback, and you can get that from your pitching coach or the rep sub.
Right. Okay. That's more of along the lines of what some of the that to me sounds like a middle ground. That's a good middle ground where you're taking objective information, but you're putting it.
Yeah.
You're figuring out what works for you. You're putting it within the context of not overdoing it and not getting bogged down by the wrong things.
Yeah, because I think the biggest thing is the feel. Once you have the feel, once you do it once, then you can do it over and over.
Yeah.
You just gotta keep doing it.
Are there particular coaches or do you have a mentor? Are there coaches or people that have kind of taken you under your wing over the years and helped inspire you?
I would say like a mentor would be definitely my dad for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. If I didn't have him, then I wouldn't, because he pushed me at a young age, and he saw something in me at a young age, and just kind of pushed me to where I am now, or helped me get to where I am now. So I would say for sure him, and then my college coach, Troy Buckley, for sure. He's the one who gave me the opportunity to play at the next level.
Okay.
And then Coach Agon, the one my pitching coach.
Miami, yeah.
Yeah. So he wanted to help me. So I knew things when I got to him, and then he helped me take it to another level.
Right. And
so I'll call him and just talk to him about games and see where I can improve, and then put together something where I can get better each off season and just talk day in and day out about bullpens or feedback of what I should do with the pitch or this outing or stuff like that.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned your dad, because it's so important for kids to get that like initial taste of what baseball means to them and why it's important, because we talk about and kind of jumping around here, but it's funny how certain guys, and you especially see this in indie ball, there's guys that truly love the game. Like I think we connect because I feel like you truly love the game. You love the game. You love the mental side. You love the ins and outs. Whether it's a good day or a bad day, like we have this connection with the game that I think is not consistent with everybody in pro baseball.
Yeah.
And more often than not, I've found like you have this connection to someone earlier in your life that's kind of inspired you to, like, I had a similar thing with my dad and my brother, because my brother played, and it means more. I think that's something that people forget when they're talking about how can we make baseball more appealing to the younger generations. It's like, Well, the first thing it really has to start. It does. Not everybody has this. Not everybody's lucky enough to have, like someone that inspires them in their family. But it's hard to cultivate any interest long term if you don't have that background. What do you think? What do you think people can do? What do you think Major League Baseball can do? What do you think people can do to incentivize more families and more of that connection with kids? Like how do we? Because I don't know if you agree, but I think it's waning in certain areas. It's harder to get kids to lock into baseball when they can't lock into anything for more than 20 seconds.
Yeah.
The game's going to take 3 hours, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're committed to it, and you have this connection and you have the will, 3 hours. We talk about it all the time. 3 hours ain't nothing. Like there's something going on at every single moment, whether you're preparing mentally or you're actually going and executing an event. Try explaining that to a kid who's scrolling through his phone looking at TikTok videos every 5 seconds, like about how he needs to connect for 3 hours. I don't know how. I don't really know the answer about how to do that, but
yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I have an example too. It's like my sisters they're younger.
Okay.
They both play soccer.
Okay.
But they'll come to my games and they'll say things like, I don't know, baseball is boring.
Right.
And there's a lot more that goes into the game that is just playing. It's you have to think situations out. So like if like we're talking about reading hitters or pitchers, or if a ground ball gets hit to me, if I'm playing third, a ground ball gets hit to me, a guy on first. What am I going to do with the ball? Well, if it's a slow roll, I'm going to take it. I'm going to go to first. If it's a hot shot to me, I'm going to throw to second. What if he bunts the ball right here? It's a good situation for a bunt. There's a lot more, planning, thinking that goes into the game that I don't think kids realize, rather than other sports like basketball or football and stuff like that. You're just going in and playing. Maybe football you have to think about a little bit more, but I don't know. I think from a young age, I had a good group of friends that we all played baseball and we all had a really good team and we had a really good connection. So I think that also takes into account. And a lot of guys from that team went on to play at high levels and they've been successful in their career, playing a couple guys that played in the big leagues and some got scholarships to play in college. And I think that's also something too, where you have something that ties you back to your childhood that when you first found a love in it. So my first love was soccer, but then when I kept playing baseball, like I said, we had a good group of guys, and because we had a good group of guys, I fell in love with the game more. And then you want to keep playing with those guys, so you keep showing up to tournaments. You want to win. You want to keep going and keep on getting better each and every day, hopefully. And so, like once you get that little taste of success in baseball, and then it brings confidence, and then you get a little bit more success, and then you get a little bit more confident, and then it brings you. Some got scholarships to play in college, and I think that's also something too, where you have something that ties you back to your childhood that when you first found a love in it. So my first love was soccer, but then when I kept playing baseball, like I said, we had a good group of guys, and because we had a good group of guys, I fell in love with the game more. And then you want to keep playing with those guys, so you keep showing up to tournaments. You want to win. You want to keep going and keep on getting better each and every day, hopefully. And so, like once you get that little taste of success in baseball, and then it brings confidence, and then you get a little bit more success, and then you get a little bit more confident, and then it brings you to a professional career, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I think so. Just going into when I go back, I try and go back and just see guys at the local high school, stuff like that too. I think when they see you, when they hear your story, just little things like that will help them, like what you're doing too with Rack Sacks.
Sure.
And out coaching guys and doing podcasts like this.
Sure.
Also.
Well, I love that. I love that you go back.
Yeah.
And I know your family has a pretty strong athletic background too. And your brother plays college soccer, right? San Francisco State.
Yeah.
Your dad was your dad an athletic director? He's involved in.
Both my mom and dad played soccer at San Francisco State.
Okay.
And then my dad is he's the head coach for soccer at the local high school also.
Okay.
So
I mean, that's huge. I know. I think it's awesome. You go back and you talk to guys, and this whole platform, we're just trying to create more of a connection to people that are playing. We've made it through, and to at least some extent, we've had success at high college levels, and then in professional baseball. But it's. I definitely think part of what you've experienced is uncommon, in part because I know, like, the Bay Area has an uncommon baseball tradition.
California. Anywhere in California, really.
California in general, but especially the Bay Area. I mean, I think part of it is, and what links, like, the New York area to the Bay. Like, we have 2 baseball teams, right?
Yeah.
You guys have baseball teams. I think it kind of stems from that. There's always baseball on.
Yeah.
And usually one of those teams is competitive and very good. I mean, the A's had a lot of success. The Giants, Mets, and Yankees, like, there are just a higher chance that in any given year someone's playing in the postseason. And I mean, my earliest memories of like going to baseball games.
Yeah.
And some of the most poignant are like going with my dad and my family to a Mets playoff game.
Yeah.
In 2000, when I was 7 and they were going to, the World Series, and all of that whole run, like, I think that affected a lot of kids down the road who were teetering on, like, eventually they committed to baseball, I think, in part because, like, that cultivates such a love for the game. But
and then they were pretty good at it, so they kept going.
Right, which is why it's important to get information out to kids, because they'll help. The better, like you said, the better they are at it, the more likely they'll stick with it. It's getting less accessible. Like, it's crushing a lot of areas because that same level of like people talk about specifying in one sport.
Yeah.
Any of the data that comes in, like, we use data, we're big on data, we always talk about it. But you're not going to commit. You're not going to get kids to commit to the sport unless they're able to be romantic about it. And like, I think Major League Baseball could afford to invest a little bit more in, I don't know, romanticizing it for younger kids. Nowadays, it's all about social media clicks and whatnot, all this other stuff. But
I think other stuff too that, like, A-Rod talks about. I don't know if you listen to his interviews about guys like from at least now, especially, like, all these guys going on live Instagram and like A-Rod was saying that guys should be on video going over their pregame routines, doing their cage work, doing their mound work before the game. Like, I've been watching a lot of Lorenzen's been doing a lot of live stuff.
Okay.
And so, like, or Bauer, one of those guys, like, I just like looking at that stuff, guys that are baseball peers, if you will.
Yep.
Not really teammates, but guys that you can learn from, and then you can add little things from their routine that you can add into your routine, and that'll hopefully make you a little bit better. Even if it doesn't work, at least you tried something.
Right.
Just take maybe a little nugget from him, maybe a little nugget from Bauer, maybe a little nugget from, I don't know, other guys that are on live or YouTube or whatever the case may be. And but the only way they're going to do that is if you actually put a video on them, and then you can see their routines and, like, wow, Mike Trout, he really loves the game. Like, he gets there 3 hours before the game. He gets his work in because he loves the game and he wants to get better. And that's why he's the best player in the game. Well, if you said to a 12-year-old who's like, no, I don't want to, his dad goes out, let's go to the park, and the 12-year-old's like, I don't want to. That's okay. Well, then if you look on the TV and see Mike Trout going in 3 hours before the game, was the best player in the world, and 3 hours before the game working on his swing, doing tee work, stretching out before he's going to take, and then he's going to go out and take more batting practice before, and then he's going to go do more throwing before he even plays the game.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that 12-year-old will be like, okay, Mike Trout's doing it. I want to go.
Right.
I want to go work now.
Right. It's not
things like that.
Not too cold outside. I'm going to actually go out and take swings or do something and get better in some way.
Yeah. Just because imagine if obviously in the Bay Area, the best baseball player who I think is still the best is Bonds. So just imagine if Barry Bonds, I'm thinking as if I was 12 or 13 years old, imagine if Barry Bonds, you could see an inside look at his cage routine. Well, guess what I'm going to do in the backyard tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing with the Last Dance documentary that Michael Jordan's doing.
Yep.
Obviously, we aren't basketball players, but it doesn't matter. We're still athletes. So you can take the mindset and then hopefully take it into your game.
Right.
So,
the level of discipline that it takes, it's uncommon, and I think people take for granted because guys who play at a high level are obviously they have some baseline of athleticism that is just that they have. I mean, but that being said, to take everybody at Long Beach State is very good. Everybody that plays at Cal State Fullerton is very good. Not everybody goes from that level to the next level, so it takes something more than that. Have you taught? I think we talked about this in the past. Have you ever have Longoria or Arenado ever come back and kind of talk to you guys at all, or inside look at what makes them tick?
Longoria came back one time, but he didn't really talk too much with us. The one guy that came a lot was Tulowitzki. He came a lot. And he talked to a lot of times to position players, obviously with their routines and their mindset at the plate.
Yeah.
And then Tulo would always come back to the field to work out and do some things there.
Okay.
But there was one time where he came back and we were going to play a series at Arizona State. So we, sure you guys did the same thing too. So we'd always fly Thursday and then we'd get a practice in Thursday night.
Right.
Same thing you guys did. And so we play at Arizona State during spring training time.
Okay.
So a lot of guys would come out, be mid-March, let's say. So we'd always play a series in Arizona State, and a lot of alumni from Long Beach State would come out and watch. Weaver would come back, Jason Vargas, Tulowitzki, but Tulowitzki would always come and come to our practice and talk to a lot of the guys. And every time he would talk, I would try and listen. Obviously, he's a position player. He's also from the Bay Area, which I resonate with that as well. But his mindset is his work ethic and mindset is off the charts. So I just listening to his mindset, and it's pretty cool listening to him talk.
Yeah, I mean I said Aaron. I was thinking Tulowitzki, and I said Arenado. I don't know why I said that, but that's he's another guy that good to emulate. I mean he also did a lot. He was one of those first guys that kind of incorporated a big barrel tip. In this new age of the internet age, obviously many other guys were also implementing that over the years. But he's a pretty incredible player.
Yeah. But that's just one thing that all those guys have in common. They worked hard, all of them.
Right. I forgot about Vargas. I forgot Vargas was a Long Beach guy. It's a pretty crazy tradition of players over there. But let's change it up a little bit. So, what do you think is going to happen this summer? What do you think comes back first? Do you think Major League Baseball plays games, or the NHL playoffs, or the NHL season? What comes back first, Major League Baseball or the NHL? What do you think?
I want to say Major League Baseball, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
first thing that'll probably come back would be the easiest thing would have probably come back would probably be the NBA. I'd say.
You think so? Why?
Yeah, I think
they'll just do it in empty arenas.
Yeah, I heard they were talking about possibly just doing it in Vegas. I think that would, if they just had one arena where they play at, that would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like NBA is already in the mid season or at the end of the season, so they would just, I think, need like a 2-week spring training if they will, and they just get to the season.
Yeah.
Well, with the thing that's tricky about baseball is that players. Okay, so think about it. Players report February 15th. The season doesn't start until the end of March, first week of April, if you will. So that's 6 weeks that they need in order for players to be playing at a high level.
Right.
Because they're not really. I mean, maybe some players are getting bullpens in now, but like before that, they weren't really in their regular off-season training program right before they hit their peak before they go to spring training.
Well, I was going to ask you this too, not to cut you off, but the weather's better out there, I think, than it is. I mean, the weather's not great in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Guys need facilities. Like, a lot of guys can't get outside, so I'm not really sure what. And I know there are a lot of statistics. People can look this up afterwards. Like when the last time there was an NFL lockout, I think like the average, I don't know, ACL injury or like lower body extremity injury in the NFL per month, there's like 5 to 6 per month or something like that. And I'm pretty sure in like the first 2 weeks of the season following that NFL lockout, there were like 15 to 17 ACL injuries. In other words, following that lockout, guys who obviously get paid, and it's a much different situation because right now, very few people can actually have access to training.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that there might be a very high incidence of injuries following this. I don't know. It ties into the topic, but
100%, because you think about it, not only baseball but any sport. Think about the baseball season. When do most injuries happen?
Early.
The spring training or first month of the season. The guys come down with Tommy John or
forearm tightness,
shoulder, forearm, like anything. Like the first month of the season.
Hamstring, guys pull a hamstring. They weren't sprinting enough.
Yeah. And it could just, I mean, maybe it's because you didn't work in the off season, but people were doing stuff in the off season. But I think it's just, okay, you're throwing your bullpens, and then you have to go to another gear when you get into an inter squad, and then you have to go into another gear when you start facing hitters, and your body may just not be ready for that.
Yeah.
So but that's why very few people get injured, at least your arm for pitchers, when you're in mid-season form. Once you're in mid-season form, you're hitting your peak, and your arm's in really good shape.
Yeah.
At that point, you're not really. You shouldn't really come down with any kind of arm injury at that point. You're just sore, you're tight, little things like that.
Yeah.
But most injuries happen at the beginning of the season or in spring training. So for baseball, they need to have like at least a 4 to 5 week month spring training. And if they don't, the Players Association is going to have something to say about that.
Yeah. I don't see how it's feasible that they just get. I mean, I know there's some high level guys. I think Nick Ahmed was quoted as saying like, "I just need 15 at bats and I'm good to go." And that may be, but this is not going to be the case for most of the guys. They're going to need at least a normal, tune up before they're going. You can talk about what you're doing, or just what would you recommend for pitchers, for throwers right now? What can guys do to try to, hold that shape right now?
For right now, it's tough for me to throw bullpens, stuff like that. But I got some stuff from the high school, a barbell, 45s.
Okay, that's not bad.
And I have a 10-pound, 20-pound, 40-pound dumbbells.
Oh, you're good.
And bands, stuff like that. So thankfully the high school gave us that. So we've been working out pretty much every day in the backyard with that stuff. And then I have my plyo care balls and stuff like that. So for that part, I'm okay with. But and then going to find a partner to play catch with is kind of tough.
Yeah.
So I just kind of go to the field. I bring a bucket of balls, and I play long toss, full field. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll go a little bit heavier, stretch it out a little bit, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I'll throw a long toss, but just kind of an easy long toss, but and then do some flat ground work into like a net. But that's really it. I can't really throw a live BP to any hitters or anything like that. And before I go to spring training, I'm throwing a month of live BPs before I get there.
Right. Also, you don't even know when that is gonna. I mean, we know now that American Association is starting in early July at the earliest. I can't. Oh yeah, they announced that this week. I can't imagine the Frontier League is starting earlier than July 1st. That would be awesome. I find it unlikely considering we got teams in the New York Metro and Chicago, and we've got teams in Canada. That's a whole other. You have a team in Winnipeg. It's a whole other separate issue because the border is closed.
Yeah.
Guys don't want to be throwing you want to time it so that you get in it. You don't want to just be throwing like hardcore 3 months. Like what are you going like as hard as you can. You want to set yourself up to be good by the first week.
Yeah. Normally spring training, I need to report on this day for spring training, and then I go from let's say March 1st, you go spring training, and then I go backwards. So like, okay, by this day, February 1st, I need to be throwing live BPs, yada yada yada. So, but we don't really have that. I guess we kind of do now, but they said the earliest it would be July. Hoping there's going to be a season, but
yeah. I was wondering this week too. This is a major issue. And maybe some people are talking about it, but in baseball circles, there's no way that the host family infrastructure won't collapse. I don't see how most of the people in summer collegiate baseball who host players are people that are at higher risk of contracting, COVID because they're older. So they're not going to host. And I know that's already happening. Like one of the Alaskan League teams, the league hasn't canceled, but one of the teams was like, we're not doing it. Because they don't have any host families.
Yeah.
If there's no host families, you're going to have major issues bringing players in. And that's an issue for indie ball too, because in minor league baseball, there's guys moving from one place to another constantly. So I don't really know how that's going to be managed. Maybe what they'll do is, I don't really know if there's any backing to this, but maybe what they'll do is they'll say in order to play for the team, you have to be able to live on your own in and around the area, which could potentially shake up a lot of the player personnel for these teams. I just don't see it. And if this takes more than a year, like I don't really know how they're going to be able to last with teams not making money. So it's a major issue. But you mentioned that you got you went to Long Beach like 2 weeks after your season ended, your senior year of high school.
Yeah, so
you got recruited very late, right?
Yeah, recruited very late.
Yeah, can you talk about that a little bit? It's interesting.
Yeah. So I've always played baseball in high school, stuff like that. I was average player, I'd say. Like I was throwing probably mid 80s in high school, 84, 85 maybe.
Yeah.
And then that summer I've always been a late bloomer. So that summer I was pitching. I didn't really pitch too much my senior year. I hurt my arm, so I didn't pitch much. I just played third base and hit. And so that summer I was throwing at one of the pro scout games that was put on by my summer coach, or Hardgate Baseball Academy is what it's called.
Okay.
That was the team that I played for growing up. And so there was a guy named Jerry McLean who was at one of the games, and he saw me pitch there. And he talked to my dad and I after, and he said, look, I can basically help you. There's some things that I saw in your mechanics, and I can help you and get where you want to be.
Okay.
And so after the game, we talked for a while, And I never really had a pitching coach growing up or anything like that. My dad was a soccer player for the most part, so we didn't really know much about high-level pitching. And so I worked with him for about a month and a half or so. I forgot the timeline, but kept working with him. And I went to showcase camp, if you will. It was we played tournaments all summer, so it was a showcase in the Bay Area. And I was pitching, and I was like, man, the ball's coming out pretty good today. The ball's coming out kind of hot. And the guy who there was a team that we played called Berkovich, and Berkovich always took all the best players from the Bay Area, and I never made that team. So he called me up after the game, or he brought me into the place where they had radar guns behind the fence or whatever, and he's like, yeah, you were sitting 88, 92.
Yeah.
And I was like, basically like, you're lying. There's no way.
Yeah.
And so, first it was kind of like an F you to him, because he never picked me, ever.
Yeah.
He always picked the best guys from every single high school team in the Bay Area. He never picked me. And number two, it was just kind of like, okay, well, now I have something where I can go to college with now, because it's 88, 92. He's like, look, I have all the numbers for all these different colleges, and I can get on the phone with them right now. And so I'd gone to like 2 or 3 USF, University of San Francisco. I really wanted to get there, because the pitching coach there at the time was, God damn, he's head coach at Northridge. Greg Moore.
Yeah.
Greg Moore. So he was the pitching coach at USF at the time, and I really liked what his philosophy was on pitching.
Right.
And so I'd always wanted to go. I've been going to camps there since I was like a junior, sophomore in high school, and they never contacted me. And so Jerry McLean, I told him that I was doing, the guy that I was working with, I told him that I had done this. I was 80, 92. He was all excited, pumped up, and he coached Buckley in college at San Francisco. So he reached out to Buckley and told Buckley that I would be down in San Diego at a tournament next week, and this was like first week of August.
Yeah.
So he told Buckley that I would be down there, and so then Jesse Cepeda, who was our associate head coach, recruiting coordinator, called me.
Yeah.
Or he was at the time at Long Beach, and he called me.
Yeah.
That Buckley's going to come out to your game on Saturday, whatever day it was, and he said he's going to be there and watch you pitch.
Yeah.
And it was weird because also the coach from Maryland also called me.
Okay.
And he said he was going to send out somebody out there as well.
Okay.
And then USF also called me. And so at that point, I go from having no offers going to junior college to 3 offers.
Right.
And so after the game, I pitched really well. I pitched 7 shutout innings. Same thing was like 88, 91 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so after the game, Buckley called me and said, I want you to come over to Long Beach.
Yeah.
And we had a 3-hour meeting, and then I had another call with the Maryland coach, and he offered me basically a full scholarship to go there.
Sure.
And then USF said they had no money, and so they didn't offer me a scholarship.
Okay.
And it's like $50,000 to go there if you didn't know. So that was pretty much out of the question.
Yeah.
And so then it basically came down to Long Beach and Maryland, and we made a pros and cons list with my family, and it was more pros to go to Long Beach. It was in California, great baseball school, a lot less to go there, and they could come see me whenever they wanted to, basically.
Okay.
Having to fly cross country. And it just happened to be that Maryland, for those few years when I was in college, they were dominant, obviously, like you saw. But yeah, so I decided to go to Long Beach then, and I signed like middle of August, and about a week later, I went out to go to my dorm.
Yeah. It's crazy how many times you hear these stories, but they resonate because kids these days also think that there's a very they need to be open to your experience, because you never know who's going to make a call. It only takes one guy. It only takes one opportunity if you're always prepared and you're always ready to, you're ready for every opportunity.
Yeah.
You took one guy, and it wasn't a guy you expected. Sometimes it's not a guy you even expect.
No.
That notices something, makes a call. Now all of a sudden you have opportunities. And it's interesting how, and again, very good career, got drafted, professional career, a lot of success. Well, teams weren't necessarily banging down your door until very late in your senior year.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show that as long there's a great lesson in that. Also, I love the pros and cons. That's awesome. That's how you should be evaluating most decisions.
Yeah.
And it's another good example of a methodical.
Yeah, it's not an emotional decision. It's more data based, if you will. Or
you just get organized. You organize your thoughts in front of you. That's very interesting.
At that point, I never thought about getting drafted, and then.
Yeah, I do remember you showed me a video you hitting a home run at the Coliseum though. So I know you were a good hitter too, and you mentioned that, right? You could hit.
Yeah, I could hit. That's one thing that I always say I could. Now I'm not so much because I don't practice hitting religiously anymore, but in high school I could hit.
Hit a ball out of the Coliseum. That's hard to do. So that's pretty impressive. But real quick before we jump, you gotta pick one. What's the most memorable promotion that any minor league team has run that you've seen, that you've been a part of? Promotional night. What's like the most memorable? Can be the craziest, whatever. Like everybody's got different promotional nights. Minor league baseball.
Shoot. Tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep thinking of one in Kane County. We always played the Kane County Cougars, and they were the Arizona Diamondbacks at the time. I still think they're a Diamondbacks affiliate.
Yeah. That's right.
But somehow, we'd always get stuck on a Tuesday there.
Okay.
And they had, I think it was either Tuesday or Thursdays. They had dollar Thursday, and it was dollar beer.
Yeah.
And the stands were filled. Like a low A game, low A, single A game,
Awesome.
And we're in the bullpen. People are on our shoulder the whole time. Kids, this and that. Something happened this year too. It wasn't a promotion or anything like that, but it happened this year. I don't know if you heard this story actually, but so we're playing Schaumburg.
Yeah.
Late in the season, we're playing Schaumburg, and it's I was a closer, so I'm getting ready to warm up, and Cam says, "Okay, you're going to the game," and I panicked. I couldn't find my weighted ball that I used before I pitch.
Okay.
I throw a weighted ball before I grabbed the baseball, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I was super panicked, and I was about to go into the game. And so Dalton looks back in the crowd, and there's a kid that has my red weighted ball in his hand. And so Dalton went and yelled at him, told him to bring it back.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, and this is Schaumburg. So Schaumburg gets this was probably a Thursday night, and Schaumburg got the most fans in our league.
In August, Thursday, there were people. There was probably
always a ton of, because there's always a ton of fans sitting on that pond.
The hill right in front of the bullpen. So you're saying a kid reached over into his face and grabbed
over my glove and grabbed it before I went in the pitch.
That's a good story. Personally, I thought the best promotion was the Gateway Grizzlies dating night, where they ran for those whoever, this will make it on somewhere, but the Grizzlies actually had a full bachelor-esque
thing, right?
In between innings, they had 10 girls, and they had questions and a competition and they, over the course of the game, it was like love night, right? It was
like Tinder swipe right or something.
Tinder night. And they had a guy who, some intern whittled down the contestants and then selected a winner over the course of a game. I also wasn't at the game that we had like 20 hits and like 15 runs, so it was a blowout. And so no one was paying attention to the game. They were completely focused on which intern was going to be selected by the male. So
the bullpen was definitely just focused on that.
Do the dugout. They were doing it on top of our dugout, and we were turning around, and people were just trying to lock in on who was gonna come away with the grand prize. So it doesn't get much better than that in minor league baseball, personally.
That's classic minor league baseball.
Classic minor league baseball.
That's why we love it.
Yeah. So, man, it's good getting all this stuff out, but trying to think of
doing any workouts at your house or anything?
There are some fields that haven't been shut down miraculously, so we've been able to go outside. We're shut down at the facility, obviously.
Yeah.
But we've been able to do it, get some work in. There's a few guys that, and we're taking precautions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Make sure we're being safe, but being able to get on the field and everything. And then workout-wise, I filled a big garbage can full of sand from the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much it weighs because I don't have a scale. And we're just doing, I'm literally doing that and, lifting cinder blocks. And it's the most ghetto, ridiculous setup. That's all I have. I don't have any of the other stuff. But we...
Push-ups, about it.
Yeah, push-ups. I mean, I got a weighted vest. I got some equipment. I wish I had a barbell. I may end up going back to the facility and getting a barbell and getting a bunch of equipment, but I don't know where I would train with it here. You can't haul that around in your car and then take it out of the field, do it outside. So logistically, it's a little bit of a challenge, but a lot of hill sprints. The good thing about this time of year is it's not critical that we're lifting that heavy. It's more about quality of movement, moving fast, but hitting a lot, throwing a lot, doing defense, and there's the mental. The grind is the mental, man. The mental grind is the toughest thing because you're, like you said, you're trying to work. You're always working in the off season towards a set date, and when that date is just there is no date. You're like, am I going to be doing this for another 2.5 months?
Yeah.
Am I not going to play a game until July? Am I not going to play a game at all? What? And with us, that's the toughest part is mentally handling the uncertainty. There's always uncertainty with what we do, but there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna say because one of my buddies who plays for the Astros, I talk to him.
Yeah.
Probably every day, and he was like, "Yeah, we should do a Instagram live workout."
Oh, you should.
And so I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so that's why I was asking you to do one.
Yeah, maybe if there's no threat of government recourse for me being outside and participating on public space, maybe we'll do that. I don't know. I don't want to ruffle any feathers because a lot of people are like, don't leave your house and don't do anything, which for me is crazy. But
so you can't even go to your facility, you being the owner of the facility.
I can go in, but I don't want to run the risk of being in there with other people and then someone finding out because they will find you. They'll shut you down and everything. So I can go in there by myself and hit off the tee, but it's been more beneficial to be outside and throwing BP to each other and doing stuff. There's a couple other pro guys where I'm at in Jersey that we kind of lean on each other and work out with each other. So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I could bring people in, but I've been hesitant to do that because I don't want anyone to find out. We've been pretty careful with that, but it's great. It's great to have it was awesome to get a pitcher's experience and a pitcher's perspective on today, and we're going to try to keep doing stuff like this. I hope that the season gets going soon and we don't have as much time to do the podcast and this stuff, but it's not the worst thing in the world when we have good guys on, and it's something we hope to continue going on and doing. So, Logan Lombana, we really look forward to seeing you pitch again this year, and for anyone following out there, he's going to be with the Lincoln Salt Dogs in Lincoln, Nebraska, in the American Association. You can check that out online. And the American Association has a great TV network. And they actually broadcast a lot of their games, I think all of their games online. It's a really good job with production. So you can watch him pitch. We'll get your social media information up there. We'll tag in everything. And yeah, man, stay safe. Keep doing your thing. We'll bring you back on at some point. But no, it's been awesome having you here and getting you on. For those of you guys back home, we're still selling our Rack Stack shirts. We got some good merch here. Selling them for $30. You can message us, or you can email us through our page, and we're going to take $10 of every shirt. And we're going to donate them to New Jersey's Robert Wood Johnson program, taking in money to create more PPE for healthcare workers, frontline healthcare workers. So feel free to reach out to us for that. And I'll send you a shirt, Logan. I'm going to send that out to you. So thank you all for tuning in. And this is us signing off from episode 2.
Perfect. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to having you play too, and look forward to seeing you play, and hopefully we reach out to somebody, and this podcast helps a couple players. So
awesome, man. Appreciate it.